fooled man can't get fooled again.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? It's time for the final countdown. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Episode number 100. We made it to the centennial mark. Centennial? We did. So it took us a while to get here. It took us 99 other episodes to get us to episode 100. Took a little longer towards the end of the year with school and work being busy and just it getting dark at 4:30. Me thinking the day's over type of shit. But we finally got here, and what a ride it has been. We had some ups, we had some downs, we had some mishaps, some dumb things I've said, some questionable things I've said, covered some topics that you might not feel interested in or just disregarded completely as mumbo jumbo, as the ops like to say. But we pushed through, we got better as we went. I'd like to think we've improved in some areas. Some areas obviously still need improvement. I'm never satisfied, and I say this at work all the time, and it's just like a personal thing, I guess. Like, I never give myself a good rating on anything because there's always room for improvement. And I do that to people, and they don't like that at work. I never tell them they did a perfect job. I don't criticize them. I tell them they did a good job, and I tell them don't celebrate because you still have work you got to do. You know, you never want to build someone up too high because the expectation gets too high at that point. But we got a big episode ahead of us, being that it is New Year's Eve, 2023, heading into 2024. We're going to look back on this year, cover the top stories from throughout the year, maybe some top movies, top shows, bad movies, bad shows, bad shit that happened. We're going to finally get around to how Mario is pronounced because I don't think I touched on that yesterday at all. I know it's in the description, and I think I wrote in the subtitle or the subtitle. I never actually talked about it. It was on my list of things to talk about. And then I think I looked down and we were at like 25 minutes and I started going on about beer battered shit. And I was like, all right, well, we gotta shut this thing down. So we're going to get into that. I say Mario. I don't know if anyone else does. I've heard most people I encounter say Mario. I've gotten corrected on it a few times where people are like, why are you saying it like that? I'm like, what? And they're like, you say Mario. Yeah, it's Mario. I don't know. Like, I'm married. You don't say you're married, right? Does that make sense to you? Like, oh, I just got married. That sounds stupid. You say I got married. What do I know though, right? I'm not a fucking linguist. You know, I didn't go to school to be a linguist. I can barely talk as it is. And speaking of talking, I've noticed there were 2 episodes I think I did with my retainer in. And I used to think you can't hear the difference between me with my retainer and me without it. And I think that might have been a lie I told myself while I was wearing Invisalign. Like, oh, you can't tell the difference. And in that case, the retainer is significantly bigger than the regular Invisalign. Like, the retainer I have is clear. You can't see it. I mean, you can see it obviously, but it's clear. It's not like those old ones that like go above the roof of your mouth and everything. And it's like there's the metal bar across it. It's not like that. Like, my retainer's clear. It looks like Invisalign. It's just like a thicker version of Invisalign. Like, it's more of a mouth guard in that regard. A mouth guard in that regard. Spitting. But I used to think there was no difference. It was probably a lie I told myself to convince myself that there was you couldn't tell, but you could tell because I listened back on those episodes and I'm like, you can tell there's something in my mouth. Or what could have happened is that I've gotten better at talking without it because I was probably used to talking with it in. And I knew that there were times when I had it in and not talking to you guys, but just in general, like I'll wear it throughout the day. Like it's comfortable. I think it's comfortable to wear a retainer all day. Like the clear ones, it prevents you from eating, like snacking. It definitely prevents you from snacking because you can't eat with it in. I don't chew gum, so it's never a problem. And I clench my teeth when I'm stressed out. Like it's it's subconscious, I get. I don't realize I'm doing it until I'm already doing it. So this kind of prevents more damage to my teeth, or it prevents damaging my teeth. But anyway, what the hell am I talking about? I don't know. So I'm not a linguist. So we got that out of the way. And then I saw something in the store today. It's crazy. So the town I live in, I wouldn't say it's the best town. It's definitely not a shithole. But there are parts of, I think this is in every town, where there's parts of the town that is a shithole. That it's like the side you don't go to. It's like if you're over there, you probably shouldn't be, especially if it's dark or anytime past like 6 p.m. You shouldn't be over there. And there is that one area by the Wawa where it's a free-for-all. There's like a little shopping center over there, which is wild because I thought that was, I don't know what was in these buildings behind the Wawa, but the Wawa is always a free-for-all. So you pull in the parking lot and there's just people everywhere. Like there's people walking in the parking lot. There's cars coming in and out. The inside is packed. There's like 15 workers going, and it's like a thing down here. Like Philly, South Jersey, Wawas. Like they look down on 7-Eleven, where like in New York, we think Wawas don't. We don't have Wawas. Number one. Number two, we're 7-Eleven kind of folk. 7-Eleven, Dunkin' type folk up there. And so they look down on the 7-Eleven. But I love 7-Eleven. Nothing better than a Slurpee. I'll always say yes to a Slurpee no matter what. Every time I go into 7-Eleven, I'm getting a Slurpee no matter what. So I go to the 7-Eleven, right? And the 7-Eleven, it's run down because no one goes to it because it's Wawa country. So I walk in, and there was, when I first moved here, there was an old lady, two old ladies owned it. Like I'm talking like 70-year-old ladies owned it. And I think they sold it to some young Indian dude, because the Indian dude's in there now and he's like changing stuff. Like he's like cleaning, stuff like that. Like he's not like a worker though. You could tell he's like important. Like he's definitely owning the place, or he's invested in the place or something, because he's changing things around in there. Nice guy too. But anyway, this place is always full of the weirdos that probably got kicked out of Wawa. And if you get kicked out of Wawa, you're probably doing something really wrong. You're probably not the nicest person in the world. But I walked in and they had a fucking big mouth Billy Bass. Did you ever see these things? Or you ever remember them from like 2004? These fucking things? So I'm going to play a video right here. Because we're high tech around here and shit like that. And it's just a fish on a plaque. And then at this part, it turns and swings to you. That's all it is. It's great. Like the tail is shaking, and then at this, like when it turns and faces you, sings to you, and then puts its head back down. It's great. It's wholesome fun. Like when these things came out, I forgot where I first saw them. I think it was like Toys R Us or some shit. KB Toys maybe, or something like that. And I was like, at first I'm like, this is the dumbest thing in the world. And then you hit the button, you're like, oh, this is pretty cool. And like they popped up in like people's offices. It was like, hey, check this out. And they press it and everyone's like thrilled by it. Even in the episode of The Sopranos, I think it's season 3, like episode like 6. I'm a Sopranos guy, so I know this kind of thing. He gets a big mouth Billy Bass as a fucking Christmas gift and everyone loves it. So like these were a thing for like, I think like a month. I don't know. But if I see one, I'm like, I didn't know they still made these things. Definitely didn't know they still sold them. Because most of the ones you see now, like if people still have them at their house, like the battery's dead and you're just like, what's the point of this thing anyway? But they had one in the 7-Eleven. And of course you have to press the button. And I was like, how about that? Look at that. A little big mouth Billy Bass. The guy was selling it for like $23. So I was like, ooh, it's outside of my price range, bruv. But big mouth Billy Basses, didn't know they still existed. But those things are fun. If you ever see one, you have to press the button on these things. I believe my good friend Sal is a big mouth Billy Bass guy. Right? All right, we're moving on because we can't do the big mouth Billy Bass thing all afternoon. We got top stories we need to cover from this past year. So this past year, I mean, everyone's been kind of onto it at this point. Like the world kind of sucks. Like it's kind of shitty. People are assholes. None of this really makes sense. Everything's too expensive. I think everyone came to the conclusion that like it's not going to be okay in the future. Like I think everyone kind of realized with like the pandemic, which is one of the topics here, hitting in 2020, and then just how everything kind of fell apart. And I think people realized like this is all just like a big house of cards. Basically, none of this really makes sense. Like, what are we doing? You know, like what are we doing? Why do we need to go to work until 7 p.m. at night? You know, why are we stressing ourselves out? All this stuff, like everyone kind of like checked out, but we had to go back to work because you gotta keep the wheels in motion. But now everyone's like mentally like beyond like the grind. You know, some people are still like, yeah, you gotta work fucking 60 hours a week. I'll break my back. And it's like, yeah, you can do that. No one's saying you can't, and no one's making fun of you for getting yours, you know? But I think everyone's kind of like, this is fucking stupid, but you have to do it. You know, you have to contribute to society. But with that, the year has been good. There's been some good things, been some bad things, some funny shit, all this and that. So the first thing that obviously happened, or is still happening, I guess, politics, baby, number one. I feel like this is the worst since 2012. I think has been the worst time for politics. It's just been getting worse and worse with Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok. Like everything is just amplified. Everyone's fucking mean to each other on there. Like it's just nasty. And I participate in it. You know, like you gotta like you're into it now. But there's been scandals. That weirdo, the fucking dude, George Santos, blatantly lying about everything he's ever done, getting elected, and people are like, he duped us. And then he got kicked out of Congress for like literally he lied about everything. He spent money. He spent campaign funds on OnlyFans. Like, I think he's openly gay. Maybe he's not. Not that that really matters, but like, he's a weird dude. He said he was Jewish and he's not Jewish. He said he's black and he's not black. He said he went to some school. He never went there. He had like $10 million net worth. That's not even close. He's got like 2 Facebook stocks or something crazy. So he was just in politics running wild. Trump got indicted several times for felony counts. You can agree with that all you want, but the fact remains he's going through a process of like 91 felony counts of shit. So like that all happened. Hunter Biden, just to keep it equal, has gotten indicted, although Hunter Biden doesn't work in the government. You have to mention both. So he got indicted for bribery and illegal gun possession in Virginia and tax evasion. So that's always fun. But tax evasion, I feel like, is something there's something worse going on, but they're like, we can't get you for that because that's going to fuck up your entire life. Let's just get you for tax evasion. We'll give you a fine. See you later type of thing. So I think the tax evasion thing is just like icing on the cake, or it's not even icing on the cake. I think it's just a whole different dessert in general. Like, we don't really want to pinch you for that. You're the president's son, but we got to get you for something here. Here's a tax bill type of situation. And then those wildfires that happened in Hawaii. Brady, you remember that, right? So the Lahaina Hawaiian wildfires burned the entire fucking woods down. The entire island got smoked. That was due to dry air moving over, the wind shifting, and lack of preparedness, warning, dumbing it down, being like, oh, it's just a small fire, no big deal. And then, of course, the rich people houses, the real estate, the waterfront property just remains untouched. Still getting to the bottom of that, and that fraud, The Rock, and that fraud Oprah coming out with, they're going to have a fundraiser, and all the money they fundraise is going to go to the people. But it turns out it was just a cover for everyone making money, and then they were going to donate a little bit of it. It was a whole thing. So people got duped because of that, but that was a pretty wildfire, so to speak. And it destroyed an entire fucking island. So there's that. And then, of course, the attack from Hamas into Israel. It's looking more and more like Israel is just carpet bombing the entire area every time there's a new report. Because at first it was like, oh, they're just targeting Hamas. And then it was like, well, there's some collateral damage. And then it was like, oh, well, there's video of you just bombing an entire town. And then they're just like, well, fuck them. And everyone, like, it's just like, fuck them. Like, yeah, we are. They're not coming out and saying, yes, we are, but they're just like, what are you going to do about it? You know, we're Israel. We have $1 billion trillion economy. We buy all our weapons from the US. Like, what are you going to do about it? So that's still going on. Doesn't seem, and that fight's been going on for centuries, since the beginning of fucking time with those people over there. Tom Brady officially retired from the NFL. I feel like he was going to come back this year, and then he was like, fuck it. You know, because he could probably still sling it. He could definitely still flick the pill. But I feel like when you're a professional athlete like that, and like he has 7 rings, like the dude he's done more than enough. Like there's no reason for him to play anymore. I think he kind of just was like, why would I want to go do that when I literally don't have to do anything? And I know he was in turmoil with the FTX thing, which I guess happened this year too, right? Didn't the FTX thing? Was that this year or last year the FTX thing happened? I know Sam Bankman-Fried, the owner of FTX, went to jail recently for that, or got convicted. I'm pretty sure he's in jail. Got convicted of all that for just swindling all that money and just buying celebrities to endorse it and buying arenas and all that stuff. So I know Tom Brady was involved with that. And I think he was labeled on like a lawsuit by like a coalition of investors being like, you should have done better due diligence before you fucking endorsed this thing. But he had everybody. Sam Bankman-Fried, that dude swindled everybody. And for a weird dude, for a weird guy that's not like personable, that's not like he's not like that dude that the WeWork guy. Like, what was his name? Adam, I don't know. Where he's like a salesman. Like Sam Bankman-Fried is just a weird fucking person. And you're like, how the hell did this guy convince all these people to buy into it? But anyway, so Brady was involved with that. But even though he got divorced from Giselle a few years ago, he lost a lot of money. I think they live right next to each other and the kids just kind of go in between their houses. Who the hell knows? But I guess on a good note, COVID-19 ended. It was announced that it was ended earlier this year. I think that was right around... When the fuck did he say it was over? I don't know. He said it was over, and we're in the season... I got COVID like 3 weeks ago, if you remember. It sucked ass. And I think we're in the highest rates... Excuse me, that was gross. I think we're in the highest infection rates since the beginning of the pandemic. Like, I know everyone that hasn't had it has had it, because that was the first time I've had it. And now the people that I've met, it's not like we're in a Reddit or anything, but the people I've met that have never had it have gotten it this year. And like, it does go one extreme to the other. Some people are like, oh, I got tested positive. I had a little headache, where I was out for like 6 straight days. I couldn't do a goddamn thing. I couldn't get off the couch without passing out. So, but COVID was declared, we're over it. And I think he was just announcing that to get all the government programs like the PPP loans and all that shit, the student loan program, all that stuff, like off the board. Like you can't use COVID as an excuse anymore to like not show up to class. Like, I think it was more of a business decision. Like, all right, we're all coming back to the office type of thing. But as a country, we're going back to the office type of situation. And then that Titan submersible, if you guys remember this one, Brady, you remember this because this was fun. It wasn't fun that they died. It was funny how they died, because you saw this tin can that they got jumped into, had no seats. They were just laying in this thing, had a little window in the front, and it was controlled by a GameCube controller that you can buy on Amazon. And you're like, wait a minute, this company has billions of dollars and this is what they came up with? Like the owner of the company has billions of dollars and this is it? And people are paying like $200,000 to go see the Titanic, which is cool, but you got to go James Cameron on that one. If you're going to go do something that extreme, you can't go cheap on it. It's like getting a transition surgery. It's got to be any kind of surgery that involves something that's going to be permanent, like skimping out on a tattoo, any kind of face plastic surgery, boob job, any kind of job. If there's, you're getting a boob job, nose job, lip job, tit job, calf job, anything that has the word job on the end of it, you don't want to lowball that, because that shit'll fuck you up. So this was one of the things you should have. If you're going to spend $200,000, you might as well spend $500,000 or $1 million and pay James Cameron to take you down there the right way, or at least use the company he has to do it. These assholes were like, I know how to do it. We're going to use fiberglass. Trust me, it's safe. And everyone's like, I don't know about that. That's not And it was just controlled by, they had no idea where they were actually going until they got down there. And then they were like, you should be near it. There's no like radar on this thing. Like you're getting close to it. I think you should be on top of it, because obviously the Titanic's not moving down there. But they went down, and I think it was, what did we search for them for like 5 days? Because they were like, technically they still have oxygen left. So we have to keep searching. You can't just stop, especially if they're marooned out there in the middle of the ocean, just kind of stuck. Then you have to like kind of figure out how to get them, or at least attempt to go get them, which would have been impossible. But turns out there's a ping on like a Navy ship, because Navy ships can monitor the entire ocean. And they heard this thing explode like the day it happened. And you can't really report that, because here's why they couldn't report that. And I think I might have said this in the podcast where I covered this fucking thing. You don't want to tell our adversaries what kind of technology we have. Because if the Navy's like, oh, we heard it. And like, how the hell did you hear? Would you have a boat in the area? And they're like, oh no, we were like thousands of miles away. And it's like, wait a minute, you have technology that can listen thousands of miles away across the ocean. And you're like, no, so you don't want to tip your hand. Plus the Navy isn't like search and rescue. That's the Coast Guard's job. And this was in international waters. So like you're on your fucking own. But yeah, apparently the Navy knew about it and was like, we can't really tell anybody because they're going to find out we have this technology. So let them search for it, and they're fucked anyway. So moving on to the next story. This one was kind of funny because it was the Bud Light hiring, what's her ass? Dylan Mulvaney, who's a transgender influencer. Bud Light hired. So this is what always happens. I get confused. And I'm not trying to be like funny about it. I legit get confused with the shit. So Dylan Mulvaney was a dude that transitioned to a female, right? So she became the brand ambassador for Bud Light. And it's cool. Like, whatever. I don't give a shit. I don't really drink Bud Light anymore. But if I do drink beer, it's mostly Bud Light. Bud Light's good. I'm not going to stop drinking it because of that. Because I just don't care. But obviously, half the country does care because they lost a lot of money on doing this. And what made it worse is that Dylan Mulvaney, she was like a caricature of a female. It wasn't like she was like over the top with being a female. She was being very like overly girly, if that makes sense. It wasn't like she was like, oh, I'm a girl and I'm just into girl things. Like it was like, oh my God, I'm going to wear pink today because pink is what girls should be wearing. And like, it was very like, she's making fun of us. She's making fun of girls. That's what it seemed like. It was like, you're making fun of girls. You're not supporting females. You're making fun of us. Like you're acting like we're the girliest girls. You know what I mean? Feminists were pissed off being like, cool, but you hired a guy to be a girl and the girl is acting like how we don't want girls to act type of situation. So now everyone's pissed off. Everyone got pissed off. Kid Rock shot a shitload of cans with a machine gun. So if Kid Rock is pissed off, the whole conservative right is going to have a meltdown. And then he got caught drinking a Bud Light at like a concert. So do what you want with that information. But they did lose a lot of money because of that. I think they ended up losing like $95 million or some shit because their stock price dropped. Or Bill Gates, what the hell? Excuse me. Bill Gates lost $95 million. The company overall lost $400 million. So they lost a pretty good chunk of money on this campaign. And it was like, there was no reason to do it. Like beer, everyone's going to drink beer. There's no reason for beer to pick a side. You want everyone to drink it. And it wasn't so much picking a side as being like inclusive, but you picked the wrong one to be inclusive with. Like that's what I mean. Like the trans crowd was like, awesome. But the feminists, the females were like, we support trans rights and all this stuff. But this is like this girl is a joke. Like she's making a joke out of females. And it was just like cringy, So the kibosh got put on that pretty quick, but they ended up losing like $400 million from it. So sucks to be them. And I'm not one of these like go woke, go broke type people. Like I can give a fuck, to be honest. If you have a good product, I'm going to use it. I don't give a shit who endorses it. It doesn't matter to me. You want to be trans? Fine. Do whatever you want. Suck whoever's dick you want to suck. It's fine. If you want to be a girl, be a girl. Want to be a guy, be a guy. It's all gravy, baby. It's all showbiz out here. But when you're a company, like a massive company, and you do something like that, you shouldn't be surprised when half the country doesn't agree with you because half the country doesn't agree on anything. Like I said in the beginning, the political turmoil in this country is wild. 50% of the people hate the other 50 and vice versa. You're never going to get everyone to agree on shit. And this is what happened here was 50% hated it, but the 50 that liked it, the 15% were like, you're doing it wrong. So it ended up being a pretty big collapse. And then, of course, the most obnoxious thing that's going on. I was all for this, too. And you already know where this is going. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. God damn it. Well, Taylor Swift, she went fucking ballistic with her concert. She became a billionaire. I think she's worth like $2 billion now. It's some crazy fucking number. And she's like a sweetheart too at the same time, which is like annoying because you're like, I really want to hate her. And you can't because people say like she tips way too fucking much. Like she spent like, I think $100 million on just tipping her staff throughout the concert. And it wasn't like she tipped 100 million people $1. The people that she did tip were like, this is like life-changing money that she just tipped me. And this is like a lifetime salary she just gave me for helping her achieve this. Like she's really nice about it. But of course, she starts dating Travis Kelce. And everyone loves Travis Kelce. The people that don't like him, his ops, are people that have probably lost to him in a game. They're fans of the other team, but they can't deny that he's a great football player. He has a successful podcast with his brother. It's a whole thing. But now that they're dating and it's all over the place, the NFL is promoting it. His podcast is promoting it. She's promoting it. She's changing lyrics in her song to add him in when like during live shows and stuff. She's everywhere. The paparazzi's following him. They are literally shoving this shit down our throats. Like it's annoying. Now it was cute, funny. Now it's obnoxious, and the Chiefs are losing. Which, if you go back and listen, is what I said. Once they start losing, it's not gonna be cute anymore. It's the silver lining is gonna wear off, and people are gonna be like, "This is annoying. Just get back to playing football. Get back to singing your songs." And then it comes out that she spent like 146. Or she didn't spend, but her carbon footprint is like 146 years longer, 146 times bigger than the average person because she's been taking her private jet, which isn't like a little Cessna. This is like a fucking charter plane to and from like Brazil. I think she's in now, and then she's traveling to Europe for her concert. Like she's going all over the place, but she keeps flying back to see his games. And they're like, she is destroying the environment just by herself. And there's a whole, I want to get into this one day. You can have a whole podcast on this, on how billionaires, especially billionaires, just them existing as billionaires, like their carbon footprint is like decimating the world. Like just them existing. They're not doing anything. It's not like they're sitting there and they're just burning coal nonstop. Like just them existing as billionaires, the tree that comes off of that, like their gravity or whatever of people around them, like their assistants, and then their assistants have workers, and then those workers have teams, and then those teams have staffs, and then those staffs hire contractors. Like that whole process is like, first of all, it's their economies are bigger than most countries, but their carbon footprint just from existing as billionaires is like destroying the planet on their own. But we can get into that a whole other time, because there's like a whole math equation some dude did that was like, if these guys didn't exist, we'd be better off, because they're flying private jets and they're flying their staff and another jet behind them and all this stuff. But we're going to get into that at a different time. And then the last story, which was the best story I've seen, heard all of it. And I'm probably missing some. So if there's something I missed, feel free to write me and tell me to go fuck myself. But the funniest shit that happened this year was the Montgomery Riverfront Brawl. So what happened here was on August 5th, 2023, the year of our Lord, a large-scale altercation took place at the riverfront dock in downtown Montgomery, Alabama. The incident gained significant media attention due to its violent nature, the racial undertones, and Montgomery's racially charged history. So for anyone that's ever been to Alabama, that place is still living in like pre-Civil War era. They are openly racist down there. I think Arkansas has like the most racist town. Alabama is like the most racist state. So people are traveling on this riverboat and they're doing whatever they got to do. 7 p.m., the Harriet II, carrying 227 passengers, returned from the riverfront park dock on the Alabama River. It just completed the 5 to 7 cruise, whatever the hell that is. The riverboat's captain attempted to get the pontoon operators to move their boat. There was a pontoon blocking the boat from docking. They could not find the operators of this boat. The passengers on the Harriet II shouted at them to move the boat. After failing to get the pontoon boat owners to move for 45 minutes, the black co-captain of the Harriet II and an unidentified 16-year-old white male deckhand were transported to the dock to move the pontoon boat. So it's kind of like when you park in like a handicap, you're getting towed, you know? The co-captain provided a written statement to police stating that he untied the pontoon boat from the dock, moving it 3 steps to the right, with the assistance of the deckhand. They were then confronted by the boat owners, the white boat owners. The video of the incident shows individuals arguing with the co-captain. A short time later, he was assaulted by a white man who shouted at him to not touch his boat. Then the two began to fight, with another white man joining the attack against the co-captain. Video shows that multiple individuals, white and black, attempted to break up the assault. A white woman from the private boat attempted to pull the attackers off the co-captain. A black man intervened to hold people off, and another white man holds the co-captain back as multiple people pacify the original attacker. One of the white assailants appeared to punch the 16-year-old white dock worker who had driven the co-captain to the dock. The initial assault was broken up in less than a minute. This is where it gets awesome. Arguments and fights with Harriet II co-workers continued. A black teenager filming across the river to the dock arrived at the dock after the initial assault was diffused. Moments later, he fought with 2 white men and pushed a white woman. Crew members disembarked and confronted the initial assailants, which led to another altercation. The co-captain's sister was involved with the new fight, and the co-captain grabbed her and moved her at the Harriet II. Bystanders and individuals connected to the initial assault began arguing and punching each other. A black man used a folding chair to hit a white man and a white woman who had been punched and knocked down by multiple black women. Some white people were thrown into the river. Police were contacted at 7 p.m. and again at 7:15, arriving at the scene around 7:18.
He's the teenager being hailed a hero for swimming to the rescue in the midst
So what this
of that
dude was doing,
riverfront brawl.
That boy swimming his out.
The teen leaps off a riverboat.
So he's on the riverboat, right?
Being beaten on the
He jumps after he sees a black dude getting beat up by some white guys. He gets up, he jumps off the boat, swims across the river, like swims across from one dock to another, gets out of the water and starts beating the shit out of people. People are hailing him as a hero. They're like, that man is swimming right there. They didn't say man, they used the N-word there, but I'm not going to do that. And the video gets just more intense because then you see, like I mentioned, you see the white chair come out of nowhere. And the dude, because if you've ever used these kind of white folding chairs, they're kind of flimsy. They don't really hurt that much, but they hurt enough. You get hit with a chair, it's going to hurt. So this guy is swinging this thing. And so you see this white couple. It's an old guy and an old lady. They hit a couple of the black dudes, right? And then they kind of walked away. And I think they got pushed, so like they fell down. And then the guy with the chair comes over, and because he saw it happen, and just wailed them. One shot each, just knocked them both out. One hit, turned around, hit the other one, and that was it. And like at this point, it's already a full-on brawl. Like it's like 15 black dudes and like 5 white guys. Like they're just going at it. People are saying like this was payback for slavery. And it was funny. Like the way the co-captain, he had his hat and he confronts the white guy. He takes his hat and the way he throws it into the air, it was like a signal. Like every black person over here, let's go beat this guy's ass. The way he tossed it up was like, I'm ready to fight. And it was like a showman move the way he did it. And then he just starts brawling, and then there's people getting hit with chairs and thrown in the water, and everyone's just yelling at this white couple to, go to fucking get the fuck off and all this stuff. So I think that was probably the best story of 2024 in my personal record book. I'm sure there's stories I missed, stories that you probably think are more important. But I mean, obviously it starts with politics and it ends with a shitload of black people beating the shit out of white people at an Alabama riverboat tour. So there's that. We're going to move it along to what's in store for 2024. That actually rhymed. I didn't think that was going to rhyme. I didn't know I was going to rhyme when I said it. But predictions for 2024. So we're going to play this back. Hopefully, if this podcast is still going. There's a lot of things going in the works this year, too. This upcoming year. A lot of moving parts. We're going to get into that in a little bit. But for 2024, here's my predictions on what's going to happen. So company Tesla, it's going to lose its value similar to what Toyota's worth. Because right now, Tesla is way overvalued. And it did shoot up to, I think, like $300, something like that. And then now it's back down, lost about 40% of its all-time high. So it's still pretty good. And at the beginning of the year, this past January, it was like $120. And then it shot up to like $320. And now it's down to like $250, maybe, around there. It's been hovering around there. But other EV makers, electric vehicle makers like Toyota, Honda, Rivian. Well, Rivian's really low, but because they're just strictly EV. Toyota, Honda, like these other companies, Ford, they're obviously playing catch up in the EV game, but they're catching up pretty quick. And a lot of them have leveled the playing field a lot. That with they're getting better and Tesla's falling down, I think Tesla's going to be back to, I would say, under sub 200,